Those of you who don't know me, my name is Sharon Markashamer. I'm a JNF future Toronto board member, and I just want to say welcome to our very first Intro to Golf Part 1 Golf Swing Fundamentals. Tonight's session will be led by Oakdale's Director of Golf, Roan Vollmer, PGA, with a Q&A to follow, moderated by my fellow board member and avid golfer, Jordan Waldman. We ask that you keep your mics muted during Roan's session, and for the Q&A, you can use the raise hand section to be called on, or you can just type your questions in the chat to Jordan. If you're joining us for the first time, I'd just like to take a few minutes to talk to you about JNF, and then I'm going to talk to you about JNF Future. So about JNF, for decades, the Jewish National Fund of Canada has cared for the land of Israel. This mission took the role of planting trees, building water reservoirs, preserving natural habitats, and building parks and bicycle trails. Recently, JNF Canada has taken on projects to strengthen the social infrastructure within Israel. Children with special needs, veterans, and the poor, those are just some of the projects that benefit Israel's vulnerable population. In other words, JNF Canada directs your donation dollars to where they are needed most. In terms of tonight's program, it's brought to you by JNF Future. JNF Future is the young professionals group of JNF catering to the under 40. We plan a variety of events during the year with all proceeds going to a project in Israel. This year and tonight's donations will be directed to a room in the Children's Clinic at the Glassman Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder and Health Center in Jerusalem. It's going to be the newest addition to the Herzog Hospital in Jerusalem. If you made a donation with your registration for tonight's program, we thank you. And for those who are still interested, you can find the donation link in the chat, and we'll be sending out more information after tonight's event if you'd still like to make a contribution. So in terms of tonight, one of our annual fundraisers is the Driving to the Future Golf Tournament, which this year will hopefully still go on and be hosted in Oakdale on August 16th. With tonight's session and after your attendance with part 2 on April 13th, we hope that you will be joining us. So without any further ado, Roan, I pass it over to you.
Thank you. And thank you for the introduction, and thank you for offering for us to be part of your incredible night and what you're putting together for the JNF Association and all the charities that you drive. Our membership, as maybe some of the persons on this call may be aware, are very involved with JNF, and we consistently are very privileged to be able to support in any possible way. So as today was asked in the conversation, we talked about this is very much entry level into golf. So I'll be going through the basics of equipment, how to set up to a golf club, how you move in motion to a finished position. The next session is more as actually application. So what you have to my left is a TrackMan simulator. We'll actually go through a golf course from how to work from a tee, etiquette, and so on, right through putting and walking off a green. So that's a little fast forward into the next session. So going into our first session, we'll actually just talk basics about the equipment in your golf bag. So as I've got my golf bag here beside me, we have a variety of pieces of equipment, but just breaking down what a piece of equipment is. And we kind of were talking just before we came on and said, like, if anybody doesn't have a golf club at home, a broom or any kind of stick would work for kind of trial and error as we're going through this. But as you're holding a golf club, so what I've got here is an 8-iron. Irons are built with the shaft of the golf club, and sometimes you're going to see them in a graphite, and you're going to see them in steel, like in this. Your grip of the golf club, which is normally a rubber, and then the head of your golf club, where we're going to hit the golf ball. So when you're going through a set of golf clubs, you hear people refer to a wedge, and a wedge is your lower iron or lower golf clubs, and they're normally used for chip shots and pitch shots, and they're just shorter range golf shots. You're hitting it very close to you. This is a Callaway. I personally play for Callaway, but this is a Callaway wedge. It's a 58-degree wedge. It's the type of wedge that you would hit out of a sand bunker, or if you would hit it beside a green or hit a short shot into your putting surface. Moving on from there, as I had shown you the 8-iron, then we kind of move up. You go into your longer iron, and longer iron literally means longer. It's longer in length. Again, grip and shaft, but then you got to get into a 5-iron. Now, my personal set goes from 3-iron down to pitching wedge with a couple sand wedges in the set as well. but you can make that up. And when you're getting out into the golf course, you're going to experience other clubs more commonly now. And these came out about a decade ago, and this is a hybrid. And what a hybrid is, thinking like a hybrid car, there's a hybrid car, it's a transition between electric and gas. This is a transition between an iron, which I was just showing you, and a fairway wood. And this is, again, as it's longer, it's to hit the ball a longer distance. A lot of aid, and you'll see them in a lot of the bags. So if you're looking at getting yourself a set of golf clubs, and they're the sort of make up 8-piece or 11-piece sets, you're probably going to see these in your 5 hybrid, which replaces your 5 iron, and that's really what it does. Your 6 hybrid, which replaces your 6 iron, and so on. And then we get, and then we get into your driver, which is the longest golf club, one that everybody wants to hit first thing out onto the practice tee. You've got your driver head, lower loft face. And again, now you can see that this color change. This is a graphite shaft, and it's standard on most drivers and fairway woods. You won't find too many times now where there's steel shafts in drivers. Graphite may hit the ball a little bit longer, and it's easier on your body. So that's a quick overview of the equipment in your bag. Continuing on, and then we're going to talk a little bit about athletic motion. Jordan, we didn't kind of talk about this earlier, but maybe as we're going through, if anybody wants to cue in a question as I'm going through equipment, or as I'm going through athletic motion, cue in a question with Jordan, and I'm happy to answer the question at that point, because it might be helpful rather than trying to remember all the chatter that I'm going through. Golf is an athletic sport. So to take that easy, we all at some point probably have played catch with friends, kids, family. At some point in our life, we've played catch. So golf works in the same principle. So when you swing a golf club, it's moving in the same principle of weight transfer back to our right side, which is this motion, which is just like taking a ball, putting it in my right hand, and I'm right-handed, so going to my right side, and then throwing it. The very first thing I would do in that athletic motion, if I was to throw a ball, is I would turn. And as I would turn, I would release the ball, very much like a throw. Well, in a golf swing, works very much the same way. When I swing back, I get back, just like I've got a ball loaded in my hand. I've loaded to the back. I'm now going to move through, my body moves, and I come around. It all moves in the same pattern. So very much a golf swing, to simplify it for everyone, when you stand up for that first time, or you're getting out in the spring and you haven't hit a golf ball over the full year, just visualize throwing a ball. It'll help, because it creates that transition of weight from your right side, which is key. You don't want to be coming off your left and kind of going forward this way and then trying to throw a ball off your right in reverse. You're going to move back to your right side, through to your left side. And that's the basic athletic motion. You can practice that right now as we're standing in this room. And it's basically just turning your shoulder. So I just rotate my shoulders. I can feel my weights on my right foot. Now I'm going to turn to my left, and I can feel my weights on my left foot. And that's just the standard athletic motion that a golf swing is in hitting a golf ball. So continuing on from there, we have our first connection to a golf club. So this is another piece of our equipment, a golf glove. Now, some people don't like wearing gloves, and some people do. I do, to protect my hand, because as we're gripping a golf club, this rubber, and on my grips, there's a soft cording. Sometimes they just come as just rubber grips. If you're holding a golf club and you're hitting enough golf balls, you'll start to wear blisters in your hands. So this is really for protection to start, from your hand getting all blistered and sore, and reduce you from wanting to play golf. The other factor is it goes onto your top hand of the golf club. So in this case, I swing right-handed, so the glove goes on my left hand. When I do grip the golf club, my strongest grip point is this top hand. So this helps me with the grip. I can't slide the club up or down, so it assists me as I'm holding the golf club. Okay, so another piece of the equipment, again, I recommend everybody wear a glove. You don't have to wear two. There's only one person on the PGA Tour that does, but one on your left hand, it will help both wear with your hand, but also holding onto the golf club. So I'm going to try to do this so that everybody can see on the camera. There's 3 ways to grip a golf club. Starting off, there's one called a baseball grip, very much like holding a baseball bat. You're going to hold it, and if you notice, my fingers are just kind of stacked on top of each other. I'm going to put my thumb down the center of the shaft. Then I'm going to put my right hand over top. And in that case, and I said, that's a baseball grip. There's no connectivity. The problem with this grip is there is no connectivity. So you have a break between your two hands and they don't really work together. So the next option, same principle, you're gonna put your thumb down center of the shaft. I've had hold of the golf club. I'm gonna take my hand, and with the V of my hand, I'm gonna now overlay onto my thumb. And on the back side, here's our next two options. You can interlock, and you're just interlocking your pointer finger and your pinky finger and interlocking it. Jack Nicklaus, one of the greatest golfers in the world, this was how he held a golf club. And this is called an overlap. It depends really on how long these two fingers are. If they're a little bit shorter, it's easier to interlock. If they're a little bit longer, you have the opportunity to overlap. I have longer fingers, so I just have always done this since I was a kid, and this is how my dad taught me, so this is how I hold a golf club. So that's it. So just quick recap: baseball grip, interlock, overlap. So those are really your key three options. But going back to it, turning it around, we always want to keep our thumb going up the center. And then when we place our right hand on top, we're going to use that V in our right hand to lay right on top of your left hand. And that creates, if you can see it, a V right here, which leads right to the golf pride on my golf grip. All right, so those are your basic three grips to holding a golf club. And how you hold the golf club is tremendously impacting on what that golf ball is going to do. It's our only connecting point to this. So starting with a good grip, and you can go back for decades in golf books and everything else, starting with a good grip is going to impact everything else I'm going to do in my body. If I start with a bad grip, I won't get too far into it, but you can get into a strong or a weak grip. If you start changing that grip around, you're going to affect what your body does, because naturally and unconsciously, you'll start changing what your body does in motion to affect the golf ball. So that was a quick cover of the three basic on grips. Now continuing on into good posture. So like in everything, I recently got a spinning bike in my house, and they're constantly talking about good posture in your spine, good posture through your abs, through your core. This all is applicable in every sport, whether you're running, whether you're spinning, whether you're swimming, whether you're working out, but also when you're swinging a golf club. If we have bad posture in our golf swing when we set up to the golf club or set up to the golf ball, we are going to limit our athletic motions. Going back to that very first thing I was talking about with throwing a ball. If I stood there all hunched over in this position and tried to throw a ball, I don't have a lot of power. I don't have a lot of opportunity. I've limited my potential. If I stand with good posture, good balance, I've tapped into the potential of all my power points. Okay, so getting into setting up to a golf ball. I have here my 8-iron, and setting in, when we get into good posture, if everybody can see me, easiest way to get in good posture is start with good posture. We want to stand up nice and tall, okay? And that isn't so that you're kind of rigid and back, but just tall and proper. You don't want to be hunched, you don't want to be slouched, just tall. From this position, we're going to slightly bend, put a flex in our knees. From here, we're going to sit our butt back, and that is that posture. So pretty simple. We did two things. One way to check it, which is a really key essential way to check, is if I just let my arms hang, my fingertips are going to touch the top of my kneecaps. So if you are watching right now, let's try that together. Just stand up nice and tall, slight flex in your knees, sit your butt back. So you're sitting back almost if you work out like an RDL, sit your butt back and just let your arms hang until your fingertips touch the top of your kneecap. That tells you that you're standing tall enough. I'm not too far down and I'm hunched over. I'm also not far too tall and out of position that way. This gives me a good athletic position, but it also tells me that I'm not leaning way out in front of me. And I'm also not leaning too far back. It's just a good checkpoint. So one more time, nice and tall, slight flex in your knees, sit your bum back, and let your arms hang so your fingertips just touch your knees. Now, if you're in this position, you should feel the weight in your feet very much just on the inside of your balls of your feet, right through the arch of your foot to the inside of your heel. So it's not heavily loaded into my heel. It's not heavily out on my toes. It's very much stable in the center of my feet. And this sets me up to make strong athletic position. And as I was saying, I made a comment to it, you stand almost like you're doing an RDL or any kind of workout. So if you can associate it to athletic motion that way, when you're working out, if I was to do an RDL, I'd keep my hands very close to my legs. I wouldn't have it out here, the weight out here in front of me. I'd have it here. And why that is the strongest stable position of our body. And we apply it to golf. And you'll see it if you get a chance to watch the tour in the women's or men's tours and the professionals playing, you'll see it consistently. All of them are in good, strong athletic position. Now, all of us are built slightly differently. I'm 6'4", so I'm built slightly differently than the 6 golf professionals that I work with. And all of us have slightly different motion because our builds are all different. Our sizes are different. Our arm lengths are different. But if you keep core good principles, it'll set you up so you can engage that core, engage your legs, engage all the power muscles into your golf swing. So that's a good summary and a very entry level point into good posture on setting up to a golf ball. Now continuing on, going into target swing positions. I'll go into hitting a couple of shots now, and we're going to apply that posture point that I was talking on. So we get ourselves set. We're now get into good posture, so I can touch my kneecap. I've got my proper grip. Mine, as I said, is an overlap. I get myself set here. Now, just like I was about to throw a ball, I start the rotation, and I start it from up here in my body, in my upper body. And I start the rotation by rotating my shoulders back. Not really much happened. I didn't have a lot of leg motion. There's a little bit of rotation in my legs, but I'm pretty stable on the lower half. And I come back. This is one of the key points we want to get to. Now, do it right at the camera, and I hope everybody can see this. But when I rotate back, the club is right on my sternum. It isn't back here over to my right, and it isn't out in that direction. It's pointing directly away from me, which actually is pointing right towards my target. So key position when you turn is you're just going to take your upper body and turn back. One of the most important starting positions, because from here, the rest of the top of your golf swing is very simple. All you're going to do is lift. If you start that motion properly to here with a good shoulder rotation and just keeping the club on the center of your body, from that point, you just lift the golf club. So that's number one in your motion. Number two, once we get loaded, so I've got my shoulder turned to here, I lift the golf club. Now from here, just like throwing a ball, the very first thing we want to do is from our body, not our hands. So naturally, you will want to take this and just swing down at it. But that's like me taking a ball in my hand and throwing it like this. You've eliminated all of your possible athletic motion into the golf ball, and you've eliminated all of your distance. You've eliminated a lot of consistency. You've set yourself up at that point to have a lot of struggles and a lot of frustrations. So when you get to the top of your golf swing, we get set in. Again, good posture, get set. We bring it back, up, and we turn our body. As simple as that. You just load it up, and we just turn. And the very first motion I make when I swing my golf swing, when I'm at the top of my golf swing, the first thing that happens is that. I am rotating my body and letting the club follow behind. That is the second most important part. You load it up and set it up properly at the top of your golf swing, and then you apply athletic body motion to your left, rotating the club through behind you. Now, when I said behind me, what I'm referring to is I start the rotation of my body, the club is coming here. It's behind me, coming through, and you'll watch it in all the slow motion of good golf swings on tour. For all strong ball strikers, their body is moving through. It's not coming from their hands. The last point is like in anything. If you can achieve, well, in any athletic motion, if you can achieve good balance at the conclusion of your golf swing, that's going to resonate in reverse. So everything happening in your golf swing, if you strive to get into good balance into the finish of your golf swing, that means everything else will checkpoint in. If you finish in bad balance, you're falling over, you're not in a good finish position, that's a result of all of your other actions, chain reacting into a bad golf swing. So to help you, we've talked quick recap, and we're going to go into that finish position. Good posture, good grip, and choice of one of the 3 grips you could do. You got good posture, good grip. Then we're going to make a good shoulder rotation back, body turn, and into a finish. And when you get to that finish position, I'm in balance. I'm not falling out to my toes and I'm not falling to my heels. Getting into that strong body position on your finish as you come through, you're just getting up here. I'm just standing on my front leg. My body's facing forward. My chest, my hips are facing forward. My right hip has come all the way around and I'm in a strong forward position. So in recap, you've got good grip, good posture, good first takeaway position, good athletic motion into the golf ball, which is your body rotating, and then a nice balanced finish. And those are your key fundamentals in swinging a golf club at your basic level and as you're starting. Now, reality is stand there and think of 5 things as you're swinging a golf ball or swinging at a golf ball, and it's going to be fairly challenging. So if I was to give everybody a recommendation, when you go out to practice, start with this one. This is your sand wedge, the one I started with when I was talking about equipment. This one will teach you how to do all those motions. So you grab a sand wedge to start off your practice or your warm up when you go to the golf course. Be patient. Everybody wants to grab this one. This is the fun one. This one goes really far. It's great, but it's the most challenging to do. And it's also the most challenging to do consistently. You grab that sand wedge. Again, I go through those same principles. Good posture. I get set. Now I shorten that swing up. When I turn back, I'm only going to go this far. Now that is that first move I talked to you about, where you just turn your shoulders and your chest back, keeping the club on your sternum. You're going to turn it back, turn through, and again, in balance. And you're just hitting little shots with a short golf swing, but it's the fundamentals and it's the groundwork to build a nice, strong, long swing. So that when you do get to that driver, which is this one, and I'll go over this as the last point to cover for everyone. One thing I didn't cover was what a tee was. That's a tee. That's what we tee up the ball at the tee to start your hole for the round of golf. When you get to your driver, everything is just much bigger. Your stance is wider. We didn't get into that. We'll be getting into that in our next session. I'll show you where you put the ball in your stance in the next session as well. But you get to the driver and everything just gets bigger. The club is moving faster and the ball goes a much longer. So again, we get into good posture, same principles, good shoulder turn, and you just swing through. And then all those motions, we're just rotating bodies. We load it up and release. Okay. I think that very much covers all of the points that we had discussed. Questions?
Well, I don't have any questions in the chat at the moment.
Okay. Well, I hope that was helpful for everyone in some way. You walk away with 1 or 2 things that we covered. It's an interesting sport. You can get really into your head. I think Arnold Palmer, if you Google some of the things that Arnold Palmer said during his time on with us, he's got the best sayings in the world. I write one down just about every day to start my day. I kind of look at one of his sayings about golf, and it's perspective in all things in life. So it's an amazing sport. Oh, terrific.
Roan, I'm wondering if maybe you could touch on the grip again.
Certainly.
You mentioned with the left hand or the top hand, you put the thumb sort of down the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Where does the rest of your hand go? Does it just kind of wrap around whoever is comfortable? Is there a proper, how does it
Okay.
fit?
So if I was to take the grip, so you can see it in the palm of my hand, this is the butt of the grip, the bottom end. This is sitting in front of my pad of my hand. It's not sitting on the palm of my hand. Okay, so I've got it underneath that meaty part of your hand. And then it very much just sits in that portion of your fingers. Some people are a little more in an angle, but it really just sits in that crevice. Sorry, it sits in the crevice right here in your hand. So those are your finger points. On this grip, there's something called the line that it's a guide, and it sets right into the groove of your hand, but that grooves in there. This sits under the paw, or under the pad of your hand. Your thumb goes down the center. And then you're asking on your right hand, the question?
Yeah,
when you get to your,
both hands.
yeah, when you get to the right hand of your, so you can see that there's a V in my hand. When I put that on, I'm trying to get it into camera. My apologies. There we go. I just flipped the sides. My thumb is sitting, see my other pad of my hand? My thumb's sitting right on top of it. It just grooves it in. So then when I'm here, I just wrap it around at that point. And that wrap around, so my grips, and it's important to have, once you do get into your equipment, to have the right size of a grip. So these grips are mid-size grips. So they all come in mid-size, jumbo, standard, undersized, a whole bunch of different versions. And that's important because if I went to too small of a grip, my hand would wrap into itself. So when you're getting fit for equipment, this is a very, very important part that it gets done for you properly. And make sure that whoever's outfitting you with clubs doesn't bypass this part, because this is the one, as I said, this is the only point that you're at, the only point that you're holding the golf club. It's important. Get the right size of grip in your hand, get the right type. There's multiple different types. If you're just starting into golf, really just a nice soft grip is good to start with. Don't start with anything hard, you'll wear your hands out. So you're starting off with a nice soft grip, but right size, and it should be fitted to you. We fit, when we do club fittings here at Oakdale, so this is actually, we're in our fitting bay. We go everything from all the different types of grips to fit the type of person. There's types of grips if you have arthritis, if you have sore hands, if you have big hands, small hands, everything. So we outfit the grips properly to you, then it works into the shaft and so forth. Did I answer your question on the grip though, on how you hold it?
Yeah, it's great. Okay. We have another question about sizing, actually, while you're on that subject. The question is, in mini golf, they give you putters based on your height. Is this the same for regular golf? Any tips for sizing?
Yeah. So, well, you can't see, but I've got but you can see. What's underneath that golf bag? This is a putter fitting mat. We also have something, it's a digital fitting platform from Callaway. Now, why I'm bringing that up is because putter fitting is really important. So as I said earlier, I'm 6'4". So amazingly, I have to get, which if you know about being fit for clubs, I'm going to say something that may sound counterintuitive, but when I need to get my putters built for me, I need them at 35 inches for length, so that when I stand at a putt, I don't look like I'm way down here and I'm out of posture and I'm in a bad position. I need to be able to stand up so I can see. So that's one part. But I also need, and this is important when you're buying a putter when it sits on the ground needs to sit, if everybody can see this, needs to sit flat. When I get a putter, if I get a putter that is just standard setup right off, like you go into the store and you buy a putter, it'll sit like this. So I actually have to get all my putters bent 4 degrees flat this way. So it's equally important to make sure that the length and the lie angle on all of your equipment, whether it's your putter, your irons, your wedges, not so much your driver, that's more in an adjustability of the head, are fit properly for you. So you're right. Putters should be fit for you both in length, but don't forget about the lie angle, because not standard is for the mass. It's not for the all. I hope that answered that question for the person.
Got another question related to equipment. You know, you walk into Golf Town and there's a whole wall of shoes. Other than color choice, is there anything specific you should be looking for with your footwear?
Okay, so if you were to talk on, I don't have shoes with me here. I'll make sure I bring shoes next time, so if anybody I can show. But golf shoes right now, they used to be when, so not aging, but I'm 45. So when I was a kid playing, you had the big long metal spikes in the bottom of your shoe. So those were to ground you, very much like soccer players with their big spikes. Now they have evolved into soft spikes, and soft spikes are now the standard of what an old spike would be. And they kind of stick out, and they ground into wet turf and so on. But if you're just a fair weather golfer, and why I mention that, because that's on the sole of the golf shoe. If you're a fair weather golfer, you can now go into a lot of very comfortable shoes that just have nubs on the bottom. And those nubs should supply enough support for you. Now, if you're an all-weather golfer, you're going to be out early in the morning dews, or you're going to play through rain, or you're going to play in a lot of odd traction position golf courses, then you do want to get into a heavier spike. So that's one part of the shoe is actually the base, which is your spiking. But as I said, start with comfort. So just like if you were to go buy a running shoe, they've got multiple different companies that supply different fits. So whether you're in a New Balance shoe or a Nike shoe or an Adidas shoe or any of them, they're going to fit to a certain type. I can't wear 3 types of golf shoes because they don't fit my feet. Wear the one that fits your foot best. You don't want to be out on the golf course because it looks like it's the greatest shoe in the world. And you walk off the golf course and your feet are destroyed. You're going to be out there for 4 hours walking. And you want to enjoy it. So start with identify the type of spike you want. And I recommend the nub spikes. I wear them all the time because it's not too often I'm out in the rain playing anymore. And then focus in on like a comfortable shoe. And they make so many good ones right now. New Balance, like I'm not propping companies specifically, but New Balance has a very much of a runner style right now. Nike has done an unbelievable job consistently every year in building that athletic motion, and everybody's bleeding into that. You see less and less of that stringent kind of old school golf style.
Okay. Another question for people who are starting out. Are there any typical injuries they should be cautious of, or things that they shouldn't do, that would lead to injury while practicing?
So I in what we talked about today, I touched on it actually. I would recommend you warm up. I recommend you warm up in everything. So whether you're a runner or you're on a bike, or if you're going out to play soccer, if you're going anything athletic where you're moving your body, stretch. The primary muscles that you're going to be using in your body, you're going to be using your thoracics. You need a lot of upper body rotation and stretching. And there's a variety that you can be doing with trainers. You need to stretch your quads out. You need to activate your glutes. You need to stretch your lower back. You need to balance your ankles. Those are all counterpoints that are going to be activated through your golf swing. Now, I said there's some things that we touched on in the golf swing today that will impact that. If you've actually activated your body, so you've activated your hips, you've activated your quads, you've activated your hamstrings, and all of this part of your body, and you've got it warmed up, just like you were going to go for a run. You've got everything warmed up. Now, when you go to swing a golf club, your motion will allow you to start turning your body and coming through. And that looks pretty comfortable, correct? Now, if I don't activate this part of my body before I go to hit golf balls, which is probably about 90% of people who play golf, unfortunately, grab a golf club, go out to the practice tee, grab that driver. My driver's over here. grab your driver. This is a no-no, and this is going to hurt you eventually if you do it enough. Grab the driver, stand up on the practice tee. You haven't warmed up. You haven't done anything. Take the golf club and go straight back and swing through. What is going to happen 90% of the time, you're going to swing up. You're not going to activate any of this because this is still cold. It's like getting in the car, turning on your car and pounding on the pedal. Not so great for the engine. You get to the top, your arms are going to come through. And when this makes this motion and my feet are still stuck to the ground, I've just strained my back. And if you do it enough, you pull out your back. You pull out your back because then you impact your glutes, you impact your hamstrings, you impact your quads, you impact your hip flexor, everything, your psoas, everything gets impacted as soon as you start firing weight and strength down. We have to remember a driver. So when I swing a driver, I swing it at about 115 miles an hour. I want everybody to imagine a 150 mile an hour car going past you and grab it. It's moving rather quick. So even at an average or moderate speed at 90, 95 miles an hour with a driver, it's still 95 miles an hour. That's something moving with force down and through, and that's going to strain out really your lower back. And it's this whole trunk area of your body that gets mostly impacted. So warming up and practicing proper. Start, as I said earlier, with the sand wedge and work your way up. That help?
I think so. I hope that answers the question. I know a question that I get a lot, being a golfer, is you can walk into the golf store you see online, and there's dozens of different choices of manufacturers, and each manufacturer has different price points. If you're just getting into the game, how much, some guidance on how to choose a club. Obviously you don't really have a set swing yet, but where do you start when it comes to selection if you're not going to get fit? Right.
That's a challenging question on this basis. There's a couple principles you're going to want to look at. Okay, I'll use it this way. Relatable, kind of relatable. We have an 11-year-old son. He wants to get a new bike, and he wants to get an off-road bike. So he wants to go off trail, but he also wants to go ride with his friends. But he's 11, so he's like 5'2". He'll probably end up being somewhere around 6 feet, 6'1". So sometime in the next 3 years, he's going to grow out of it. So we're not going to go spend the top end on a bike on something that he's going to grow out of. We're going to spend a moderate amount of money on a bike that he'll enjoy, but something we can graduate, maybe even hand down to another friend's child or hand out to somebody else. And why I say that too often is you get into a set of golf clubs, somebody, if they do it improperly, they're going to come in, they're going to get them set up, and I'm going to show something. They're going to get themselves set up into the wrong type of golf club, because that wrong type of golf club is going to be short term for them. So this head here, and these are all Callaway. So that head there is a Callaway DCB. Okay, so everybody can see that. This has a big, huge perimeter weighting to it, long, very thick sole plate. It's got a big face to it. They make another one. This one's called an Apex. These are all fit irons, by the way. So it's an Apex. Still same idea of a perimeter weighting, but it's got a thinner sole. It's got a smaller face. Then we go into the next thing. This is the Apex Pro. Put it around properly. That's an Apex Pro. Now, if you notice, it doesn't have any perimeter weighting. What perimeter weighting does is it corrects when balls miss off the center of the face. And they also, the sole plate's slightly thinner. That helps the ball elevate higher. So why I showed you those 3 points, and that's just really just a tip of what's going on in the head, is if they fit you into this head and you progress really fast, just like our 11-year-old grows really quick, in 2 years, this is going to be wasted. You won't be able to do anything with this, because this club is not going to fit you anymore, because it hits the ball too high, because it's designed to hit the ball high. It has too much forgiveness to the face, so you're giving up shots. It's going to set you up for having to replace golf clubs very quick, and it becomes very costly that way. Because now if you look at a set of irons, and that set of irons could run about $1,200. Now you're doing that every 2 years. That becomes a more expensive sport on top of the green fees and everything else you have to spend money on. So when you do get fit, I would start with one of your entry-level sets. There's a lot of sets out right now by every company, and you can buy like an 8-piece set or an 11-piece set. That is a good starting point, because you're going to get the whole set with your driver, your fairway, your hybrid, your irons, your putter, and your bag. Like that whole kit and caboodle, you're going to get for somewhere around $1,000, somewhere around there. So that's an okay price to enter into, and it gives you time to graduate, grow, develop a golf swing, develop a game, figure out all the different components, and then go in and come into a place like what we have here at Oakdale, which is a full fitting center, and get you fit properly for the right piece of equipment. I hope that answered the question. Yes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just
So,
don't jump in too far, because when you do, each part is like the bag is quite extensive. You know, all those different pieces of equipment I just went to, there's different types of wedges, there's different types of irons, there's different types of putters, there's different types of drivers, fairways, and hybrids. And there's always one that's going to work best for you. Just give yourself the opportunity to develop and then start graduating into picking those pieces. Okay.
awesome.
All right.
Roan, I don't see any more questions. I know we're a little ahead of schedule here, but I guess we have a quiet bunch, or you're just that good of a teacher and everyone got it.
I'd go with the quiet.
So just wanted to really thank you for your time this evening. I hope everybody got something out of it. I know I'm eager to get outside and start swinging the golf club for sure. And I hope everybody, again, got something out of it. If you want to make another donation, the link is in the chat. We'd love your support. And we look forward to seeing you at our next session in April.
Terrific. Thanks so much. And for that session, if they want to send you some preamble questions, some pre-questions or things that they reflected on today, send them over. We can go over them at the beginning as well.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for letting me be part of your day today.
Thanks, Rowan. Thank you, everybody, for attending.